And now it's time for a podcast with Keld Beyond. Keep dreaming, my friend. Keep dreaming.
Welcome to Keep Dreaming with Keld Beyond. Episode 11. Keep Dreaming is a podcast about dreams, the video game and creation engine for PlayStation, and the community that brings it to life. I'm your host, Keld Beyond. We are broadcasting live at twitch.tv/KeldBeyond on Sunday, December 12th. And today we're talking about game design in dreams, and I have two guests. MCalchemist42. How you doing there, MC?
Doing very well. How about yourself?
Oh, dandy. A little sleep deprived, but I'm feeling pretty up. I'm feeling pretty good today. And RurouniDan. Dan, what's up?
Hello. Thanks for having me.
Thanks for being here. I am a fan of both of your games. I've enjoyed the creation of the results of your blood, sweat, and tears in dreams on many occasions.
Oh, well, thank you very much.
And today, MC has done a lot of prep, has a lot of notes, a lot of talking points, and a collection of dreams for us to take a look at.
Oh, yeah, I did my homework. I got a Google Doc for everyone. I'm gonna share it at the end. It's gonna be great.
How many spreadsheets do we get?
It's no spreadsheets.
Zero spreadsheets.
I did half of my homework. Okay.
All right. How many PowerPoint presentations did you prepare?
This is it. This is the PowerPoint presentation.
Oh, okay. I mean, that's not really it's missing a lot of bullet points. That's all I'm going to say.
We'll fill it in.
I don't know how to follow this without bullet points.
Yeah. I mean, how do I follow this if I can't read everything that you're saying on the screen while you're saying it?
I'm too confused.
So we've got a collection of dang fine design here. And yeah, I think before we dig into some of these dang fine designs, I just want to get a little introduction under our belts for our two guests. So MCalchemist42. Now, I've been aware of you since the beta in Dreams.
Yeah, back when I was Dark Lord.
Dark Lord. And
mistakes were made.
Mistakes were made. What's the story behind Dark Lord and the name change to MC Alchemist?
It was one of my friends made that account on my PlayStation, and I had to use my email that I signed up for the Dreams newsletter with.
Oh,
so that's how you got into the beta, and
that's funny.
history. So yeah, I just changed that name.
Well, I think you created okay. So MC Alchemist made a dragon, like a flyable a dragon you could control and fly around with in the Dreams beta. And at the time, it was super impressive. Like, wow,
flying, fire-breathing dragon.
Yeah, you looked like a wizard. And
yeah, I remixed that T-Rex.
Is that?
That was rigged by Kevin.
Yeah.
So yeah, it was really cool. Someone sculpted it, and then Kevin rigged it, and then I turned it into a dragon.
I had no idea.
Dreams is awesome.
I know that T-Rex well. I had no idea that you remixed it into that dragon. That's crazy.
Right.
Wow. And then
it blew my mind how
to it and
quick
everything.
that turned out.
Such a cool part of Dreams, being able to do that.
Right. And I mean, it's neat to have these relationships with other creators that that happen this way. In the Dreams beta, I did a remix of Dreamiverse Dash, and I thought it would be a good learning experience and be fun to just try and mess it up. Like, hi Lena, to take what's there and just sort of mess it up. And I called it Dreamiverse Dash Catastrophic, and super proud of it. They had a ton of fun with it. They played it on the MM stream, and that was super exciting. And then I was like, I'm not done. It needs something else. And and I brought in MC's Dragon, and I think I set it up so that it would like color cycle, which was really difficult for me to do at the time, and then I just basically I think I just possession recorded it doing laps around the map. And there's not much of a story here. It's just it's just a fond memory of an early Dreams thing. It was exciting to take someone else's creation, then and just try and put a unique twist on it, and make it work in this other setting. And I need to release this kitty from the room here.
Yeah, I remember playing that remix. I was like, what kind of weird fever dream is that? That was way before I knew who Kelp was, so.
Those are always the best memories of Dreams. You're like your first creation and just thinking of all the possibilities, all the different games you could create. You have no idea what the limits are at the time.
Yeah, absolutely. It was
so
it was an exciting time. What
it's like the brainstorming.
When did you come to Dreams, Dan?
I came in early access. It was, let's see if I remember, I believe it was April of 2019.
Yeah, so right at the start of early access?
Yeah, right around. I think I was a couple months late, but yeah, I was right around the start of early access.
Nice. I think it was April 16th. And did you jump right into game design? Is that because when I think of you as a Dreams creator, I think of you as a game designer first. I think is that kind of what brought you in and what you started with?
Yeah, oddly enough, the first thing I did was I created sort of a 3D platformer. It was my very first creation.
Smart.
And I just kind of really tried to make it work. It's pretty rough, but hey, at least I got 2 levels done, and I even have a boss fight in one of them. And very rough, but it was cool to be able to do that so quickly. It took me a matter of maybe 3 or 4 weeks total, and I had a game with a boss and everything. And I forced myself to learn a lot of things.
Right. And I mean, I think a lot of people, they want to make something big and complex when they start designing in Dreams. And my advice for a long time has been, make a platformer. I mean, like the basic mechanics of a platformer, you can import a pillar, you can import a puppet, you can clone the pillar, and you've got a platformer, right? Like in terms of figuring out, how do I make you've got one. It's already there, which means you get to figure out all the other stuff that goes around it, which there's a lot more of than you expect when you first jump into designing games, I think.
Yeah, my first game was pretty similar. Like I bit off way more than I could chew, but you had to learn how to wear all the different hats to like be a game designer. So that was extremely helpful, even though the actual game turned out terribly, but that's fine. It's all part of the learning process.
Do you want to tell us what the game was?
Oh yeah, it takes place on a giant turtle, and you don't know it's on a turtle until you get to the very end.
Very cool.
And then my idea was like have like it's turtles all the way down, like the old proverb. And so the next level will be on the next turtle down. But yeah, the frame rate was terrible. I didn't know what looseness was or how to make grass without destroying frame rate, all that fun stuff.
Yeah, you definitely, like, before you know how the Dreams engine works, you just start piling stuff in, and why is it so slow now? I don't understand.
Oh yeah, and yeah, trying to make combat for the first time is so daunting that I made a boss fight for that first game, and it's just incredibly hard to balance. And I don't know if anyone else experienced this bug, but way back in the beta, basically there was this bug where all your animations would switch arms.
Whoa.
So if you had like animated a right swing, like the character had a sword in his right hand, it would like flip, and the sword would be in the left hand.
So the character was just
all the animations would be like matched, but it was just completely mirrored. It was bizarre, but they fixed that. So
weird
thanks.
What? Let me ask you both. Start with Dan. What? Did you have any experience doing game design before Dreams?
Well, I guess the very first was Little Big Planet, like a lot of people.
Oh, nice.
1, 2, and 3. Not as much as 3, just because it had issues with saving the level that I had finished that I was so proud of.
Saving it,
Anyway.
so like bug issues prevented you from
Yes.
working?
Oh yes, I'm still upset about that. It was like the culmination of everything I've done in 1 and 2, and I put all my skills into this one grand level in 3.
Yeah.
Couldn't publish it. Wouldn't let me.
Oh, that's awful.
I know.
Yeah,
And
hurts.
still today, I went back recently and played it. I was like, man, this was awesome. And I didn't say that about my other levels. This is just like I put so much into this one that I don't know. Anyway,
That's heartbreaking.
but that led me to actually kind of I got a degree in engineering, computer engineering, because of Little Big Planet. Because I found that I really enjoyed all the different subtle programming aspects and design and all of that.
That is so cool. I bet you.
Yeah,
I bet you people over at MM just love to hear that.
I don't. Well, yeah, maybe. Yeah.
You don't think so?
I guess that was. No, I think so.
I think it's pretty amazing that a video game, it kind of inspired you to a computer engineering degree.
Yeah, I kind of thought that I would end up doing video games, but I don't know if you see it on Twitter recently, people going around the transparency in game design and whatnot, and, different game design experiences, and yeah, it's a pretty rough industry and tough to get into, and not quite there yet. Not quite willing to be there yet either. So.
I was always scared
about the industry.
I was always scared of the industry just because you would hear, you would hear things about people working 100-hour weeks for like 6 months to 3 years straight, and like it just sounded like such a brutal place to work when I'd hear it described back 15, 20 years ago.
Yeah, it just doesn't make sense, for like mental health and fiscally. None of the things add up.
The whole exploiting people's passions really rubs me the wrong way. So indie or die if you're gonna, or work at MM. So,
but I still do love making games more than anything. So there's that.
That's beautiful. MC, did you have game design experience before you jumped into Dreams?
No, zero, nothing.
Was it something
the only reason I heard about, no, not really. Basically, when I first got my VR headset, Dreams was one of the games that was like gonna come out for it, so that's how I learned about it.
Yeah,
and then just started brainstorming. Oh, what if I made a game? What kind of game would I make?
Nice. Intratech out in the chat says LBP3 is really frustrating. Amazing game, but many technical issues have never been fixed. I've heard so much about that. Maybe here's just let's put a positive spin on it for a moment. 343 Industries just launched the new Halo game, which is getting a lot of really positive feedback. The previous Halo game they launched, not so much positive feedback, and the only one that I haven't played in the series. And they took it over from Bungie. So it took them 2 games to get it right. I don't know. Maybe there'll be an LBP4 on the horizon. Does anyone forgive my ignorance. Did Sumo Digital
came out.
Right? Did Sumo Digital make Sackboy's Adventure?
Yeah, it was like just a platformer though.
Okay.
No like creation or anything.
Yeah. I wonder if they're gearing up to do anything creation wise, or if they feel like Dreams has got that niche covered right now.
I mean,
we'll say one of the Little Big Planet games that flew under the radar a bit, Little Big Planet Vita, is probably the best one out of all of them in terms of tools. And
was it a standalone thing, or was that like based on another LBP? Or something?
It was its own game, and it had unique creation tools in it that were unique to Little Big Planet Vita. It had a few different things. It was outstanding. Everything about it. I think it came out right before. I might be wrong, but I think it came out right before Little Big Planet 2. Might be backward. Maybe it's Little Big Planet 3. But it was so cool. I tell you, like I love that game.
Is that the racing one?
No, it was a Little Big Planet game. It was just on the Vita only, and
Was
it
that
was
Media Molecule?
no, it wasn't. I think I don't want to get it wrong, so I'm just going to say this is a guess. I think it was Tarsier.
Hmm.
I think it was. Pretty sure it was. I have the case. I can go check.
Interesting. Tarsier Pounce Uwu says Tarsier did it. Well, good stuff.
That was an amazing game.
Good stuff. Let's see. Why don't we jump into taking a look at some Dreams games and talking about their dang fine design. MC, is there one in particular that you want to start with, or anything you want to set up before we jump into one?
Yeah, I guess I have like a question, like preference those games. So I guess like since starting like Dreams, like being a designer making games, how has the lens through which you view other games changed? So have you noticed like that when you're playing another game, you think about it differently now that you have actually tried your hand at making them?
Personally, I would say yes. Maybe it's not as dramatic as it could be, because I feel like, well, because I have always wanted to do game development. I mean, my few attempts at learning to code did not go well, and it wasn't clicking well for me. My game maker experience did not last very long, but I've always been reading interviews with game developers and like trying to have an understanding of what it looks like from the creation side. There's definitely a lot of things though where you find yourself thinking about dreams techniques, like I'm using dreams terms to describe the things being emitted, or I feel like my train of thought is
I mean, yeah, it's all pretty similar.
fit on this one.
Yeah, myself, I feel like now I know I don't finish games anymore. Like other games that I'm playing. It has to
Outside
be
of
like
Dreams?
outside of Dreams. It has to be like a really like exceptional story if I'm gonna actually stick it out till the end. Like Horizon Zero Dawn has the story is phenomenal, so that's the only reason I finished the game. Because
Yeah.
usually I'll just try to play it to get a sense of the mechanics and like what the gimmicks are and sort of how their systems fit together. And it's well, another thing that I've realized is like how games get made at all. Like it's insane to me that these projects actually come together, and
Mm-hmm.
sometimes they don't.
Yeah.
Like a few games this fall.
How about you, Dan? How do you think Dreams has changed the way you look at other games?
In a word, probably dramatically, but it's a lot of kind of what MC said resonated with me. Although, to be fair, I never really finished games to begin with. But I have noticed some of the games that have just absolute superior design, I appreciate far more, and some of the games that seem a little bit more rushed, I, tend to drop quicker than I used to.
Yeah.
So, for example, I'm playing Death Stranding, the director's cut right now, and I know like it's kind of like a running joke, like oh, delivery simulator, that kind of thing. But boy, that to introduce a new genre like that in such an
Oh yeah, Death
astounding
Stranding
way.
blew me away. The
Oh yes,
yeah, the
it
strand
is
system is
marvel.
mind blowing.
Do you think you'll finish it?
Oh, I'm almost done.
Oh, wow. And you're not a
Oh,
game
yeah.
finisher. I tend to be a game finisher, but when I think about playing that one, I'm afraid I won't finish it for some reason. I've heard so many good things, and yet I'm afraid of all the cutscenes, which seems to be a valid fear.
There's
are
one
a
or
lot.
two cringy cutscenes, but
Like
that's
I
fine.
get impatient. I love visual media. I love a good cutscene, but I get impatient when I'm like, I sat down to play a game. I want to do a thing, not watch a thing right now. And it's like, with some games are, no, you're gonna watch a thing, and I don't want to be a cutscene skipper, a filthy cutscene skipper. I'm not that type.
Not the
Eee,
My
first
mama
time, at
raised me
least.
better than that.
gross.
But yeah, the traversal is awesome in that game. And do you know that Sony patented sort of like the technology behind the terrain generation? So
Oh,
if you're not
really?
familiar, basically the map starts out like completely rough. There are no paths or anything like that. And then as the players play, the most frequently used paths by all the players that are
What?
online start to like make little desire paths,
Oh, wow.
which is
Wow.
like it's insane. Then
Wait. So,
Sony patented that.
so is
Interestingly
that?
enough.
I've got. I don't know how much you know about that system, but um, so during your playthrough, like during a single playthrough, does it start out
Mhm.
with no paths and
Yeah.
then
Yes.
they
Yeah.
slowly develop over time? So, would the paths
Mhm.
that you get during your playthrough are
They'll be
dependent
different. Yeah.
on who other people who are playing through during that same period?
Yeah, during that same period, yeah, because
Wow.
the little things you build like degrade over time, so they'll
Yeah.
disappear, and then other players have to go pick up the slack.
Well, that is good. That is good. I don't know.
It's very
Maybe it's
cool.
got to go on my Christmas list. Death Stranding.
Absolutely. I would put it on the top for sure. One of the other games that I don't know why, I don't know what it is, but I always finish it. I don't even put it down. It's Ratchet and Clank. I've played every
Hmm.
single one of them. Every single time I played it, I've never put it down and beat it within like 2 days. I don't
Yeah,
know
that
Played.
one
why.
was
I've only
exceptional.
played a little of that remaster, the recent remaster. I didn't finish it, but I did find it very engaging. I found
I
myself
would.
drawn back to it for sure.
Oh yeah. Oh, yeah,
And
definitely.
the cutscenes were phenomenal and not too long. Don't overstay
Not a
their
lot
welcome.
in Death Stranding though. Metal Gear Solid has a ton of cutscenes, but Death Stranding doesn't have too many.
Oh, well, then you just said the right words, because when I tried Metal Gear Solid 5, I did feel like I was playing a movie
Oh
and
yeah.
I wanted less movie.
Cutscene City right there.
Duckonomics in the chat says, I don't finish games anymore either, but that might be because of the availability of games. Pounce says, I used to 100% every game. Now I rarely finish something. Too many games vying for my attention. I am 100% with you on that. It's so much easier. Like when I was a child, games were so precious. There was no online games. When I was 10 years old, you had the cartridge you had, and then if you could get another cartridge from the store or your friend or the rental shop, that's the only way you were getting a game. So we finished a lot more games. Like,
Because you had to. Hmm.
yeah, we had nothing else to do. You want me to go play outside? No, I'm gonna finish this game. I'm gonna defeat Go-Go 13, whether even if it kills me. Dreams made me a lot more careful with criticism, says Intratech Out. It hammers home that most flaws in games exist for a reason and are not the result of incompetent devs. Whoo, there's a statement.
Hmm.
Yeah, that's huge. But no,
Yeah,
it gives you a
game
lot of
dev is
respect for
hard.
those folks.
Game dev is
Like, yeah,
harder than I thought.
if you've tried to make a game, you'll never like blame game dev on Twitter. Like, you know how hard that shit is.
Absolutely. Well, what else you got for us, MC?
That the point about like not having enough time, I thought was super relevant to our discussion because like that's you know more than us as a content creator. Like you're all vying for people's attention and their time, and it's limited. And as a parent now, you have even less time, so it's like
Yeah.
even more valuable. And I think like one of the most important principles in modern game design, like yeah, old games, as you said, this wasn't as important, but I think you need to respect your players' time because there's nothing worse than feeling like you've lost time and that you're never going to get back because it's the most valuable resource. It's like how you make your living, you sell your time. So yeah,
Is
it's a
what your
really big
life is
topic.
made of.
Oh yeah.
Exactly. And yeah,
100%.
dreams is also unique. I think the YouTube analogy doesn't work everywhere, but where it does work is the availability of content because you can instantly switch to another video. You're like, oh, I don't like the first 20 seconds of this video. I'm going to switch to another one. And the same principle applies to dreams. So I think we can learn a lot from like those old Flash games, like addictinggames.com. I don't know if anyone played that in like the early 2000s or like cool math games, something like that, where you really had to hook the player like instantly, or they could just make 2 clicks and find another game.
Yeah, for anyone who's not familiar, Flash was a platform by originally Macromedia. I think did Adobe swallowed Macromedia eventually, right? Is that what happened?
Yeah, it was known as Adobe Flash
Yeah. So
in its later days.
Flash was so cool because you could like I took an animation class in college and they used Flash in the animation class. You could do a lot with animation and you could basically do anything you want. It felt kind of dreamsy. Like Flash felt a little dreamsy at the time because at the time, like I'm creating, I'm making my own web pages, like very, simple web pages, and it's all code and it's complicated and then you could go into Flash, learn the whole system of how Flash works, and then just kind of plug any experience you want into a web page. And some people hated it for that reason because it sort of like skipped like, hey, just forget this HTML thing. Like here's a new thing. So I think some people didn't like that, and I definitely committed a lot of design atrocities, like making entire websites in Flash and whatnot. But you can also make games. I didn't realize until right this moment just how sort of dreamsy that was as a platform.
Oh,
I mean,
totally.
you could really do anything you want with it and poof, pop it on the internet. It was super powerful. So there was a lot of people who made games in Flash and became very popular.
Yeah, I spent an ungodly amount of time on addictinggames.com as a kid, aptly named. There's just like so many like little experiences and games. One of my favorites was the Buddy game, where it's just like a little like doll that you just blew up with explosions, and
Oh, I remember that.
it was so fun.
Did you ever visit Original? I don't know who this creator was, and I think you can't play the games now because Flash is dead. But
They archived a lot of them actually.
But I think it was like
I don't know
one
where those are.
creator who just had this whole like a page full of little mini games, and they were just gorgeously designed and just fun and addicting to play. And I think I think one of my employers paid me for quite a number of hours of playing games on Original, if I recall correctly.
Oh boy.
Yeah, I think the types of games that are successful like on those Flash websites are the same types of games that are successful in Dreams for the same reasons. And I mean, there were some like longer like RPGs on in Flash, so I think there's definitely room for like all types of games, but there's certainly like patterns that you recognize.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely.
Did anyone
But the
argue
one
that Flash games weren't real? I don't remember that being a discussion. Maybe it's just because Dreams comes so close to, feature parity with other engines. That's why we have to have that discussion. But I don't remember people at the time saying, those aren't real games.
There is a difference, though. Like Castlevania, looking at the old Castlevania games, like you're never going to compare it to a Flash game. You know what I mean? But it's always going to be better in every way.
Mm.
And why is that?
Why is that?
That's
Sorry?
I guess they just have more. I guess Flash games were like hobby people just like us.
Yeah. I mean, I don't remember like any. I'm sure there were some, but I don't remember the big experiences when it comes to Flash games. The ones in my mind are the little ones.
Oh, Motherlode. You guys remember Motherlode? The one where you have a little drilling, you're on Mars and you're drilling down for minerals? No? Neither of you? Wow. That's crazy. I played so much of that game. It was like Motherlode 3000 or something like that.
I think I missed some of the Flash games craze. Spent a lot of time working in Flash. I was a big fan of Homestar Runner, like a popular Flash cartoon.
Strong Bad.
Oh yeah. I dressed as Strong Bad for one Halloween, and I got recognized like on a college campus. Like that's everybody awesome. Knew who Strong Bad was. But yeah, back to game design.
Right. Okay. I guess another question is like what would make you leave a dream? Like why Like, what's something in the game that you don't like that would be like, I'm gonna try another game or do this later, add it to my play later, and never play it again.
Lack of invert.
So like, yeah.
Lack of Y invert.
That's a low hanging fruit.
Yeah.
But yeah, is there any like pet peeves that you have other than lack of invert?
I have a lot.
Oh yeah,
do tell.
I'm probably the worst offender when it comes to this. So I think we can all agree that there's a certain look that you can tell right off the bat when you enter a dream. That's like that dreamsy type of look, very, very loose, flecky type of rough look.
Mm-hmm.
And then there are games that don't have that look. But generally speaking, if it has that look in a very strong way,
mm-hmm.
It's probably not a great game. If it's like very extreme, right? You can kind of tell. You can kind of jump in and you're like, oh, this is just kind of a very early type of... I mean, I think it's important to kind of note that what I mean by good game is not good dreams game. I mean good game. Yeah. Of which there are not very many in dreams because it's very hard to make a good game. But, when you're on dreams, are you looking for a good dreams game or are you looking for a good game? And I think most people that play dreams that don't create things are looking for good games. And so one of the things when I first join or enter a game is, can I tell that do I think that this has potential to be a good game? Because is it really truly going to be like captivating, interesting?
Yeah, there's like that initial bit of polish. You can tell, like, if they worked really hard on a title screen, they probably worked even harder on the rest of the game.
If you spot some default text gadgets, maybe lower your expectations.
Yeah, Duck made a good point. That default first-person puppet, or any of the default puppets, it's like exactly. There's so many like amazing puppets that you can stamp in there immediately.
Absolutely.
Those fast footstep sounds. We need a fix for that because, like, I think what I have ended up doing is just figuring out some way with logic to cut them in half so you only hear half as many as you as it wants you to.
I think it's just the stride distance, right? Stride length.
You know what? Puppet. I played around with the walk cycle, trying to make as much time in between footfalls as possible. And the lowest you can get it is still like pop, 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 pop. It still just feels like, for what feels like kind of normal movement, it just sounds like squeak, 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 squeak.
Oh, yeah. Oh, Halloween Ghoul just brought up something I was just going to mention. When you enter a game and all the audio is set to 100%.
Oh, yeah, he's screaming.
Yeah, because I have like surround sound for my setup. And if a game is at 100% and I join it, it's kind of like... for some reason, Modern Warfare, it just blasts the audio, even if you change the setting. Always so loud. It's so annoying. But there are Dreams games where they just set it to 100% because they have their volume low when they're creating or something like that.
Yeah, I think part of it is that because you're combining multiple sound sources, right? So it's kind of like mixing a record, except you don't have a visual indicator of when you've hit the maximum. And I think if people are coming at it not understanding how digital audio works, not understanding that there's a ceiling and we all share it, and you can't go louder than that ceiling, right? Right. I mean, you can get closer to it in terms of average volume over time, but in terms of like the peak something can hit, it's there and it's the same for all of us. And I think there can be a tendency to, when you're trying to balance audio and you're a little inexperienced, I think the tendency can be to just, oh, I don't hear this, I better turn this up. Oh, I don't quite hear this now, I should turn that up. Oh, now I can't hear this, I'm going to turn that up too. And you just end up sort of making everything louder and louder and just smashing into the sort of default limiter. And and it eventually everything sounds like this. It's all the same volume and it's all in way too loud.
Everything's loud, nothing's.
Yeah, I kind of feel like we could use something, maybe with the thermo readout that would give you a heads up, like, oh hey, you're destroying the limiter,
Ears
and you
are
could turn everything
delicate.
down.
That's a good idea. Kind of like a synthesizer display. You just see
Yeah,
all the
yeah.
hits.
Or
I
some
do think
meters. Like metering would be amazing too.
I know
Yeah.
they recently reduced a bunch of the volumes and like their instruments and sound effects. MM did because they
Oh, wow.
realized
really?
that everyone was just bumping everything up to
I remember Ed
max.
saying it felt like, like it was tough to find what should be the default because there's no number they can put there in the volume slider that's going to mean it just works for everyone. Like it's going to have to go up, in some cases. And if you're putting a bunch of sounds together, some of those are going to have to come down in order to not sound like amplified vomit.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, the last game I made was the first one where I put music and sound effects sliders that people can like adjust to their liking. So hopefully someone appreciated that.
What Duck just said is a very, very good tip there. MM said to get an MM song and compare your sounds to that song.
Yeah, that's a great tip.
That is a
Yeah,
good tip.
Yeah, that's a very good way to do that.
It would be,
I feel
Go ahead.
I feel like, or mine would be like a overly like verbose intro, like something that takes like a really long time. Like you're trying to set the story, and it's either a wall of text or your like I don't know what to call it. Like your username intro thing is
I hate
like
that.
Yeah.
excessively long.
And
Because
unskippable.
yeah, which
Oh,
brings me back to the point of like evaluating people's time. Because they can just instantly leave the dream and find something else. You have to think of it from the perspective of the person who's gonna play the game.
Yeah.
I feel like it's a really common trope to say like you're making this for you, like you're making your game because you like it, which is fine, but I think you'll like what you make even more if other people are able to enjoy it, if that makes sense.
Yeah, and we've just been talking about the availability of games being one factor in the fact that we finish less games now than we used to as players, and I feel like Dreams is an even more extreme example of what the whole gaming industry has become over time. In terms of the availability of games, if you don't like something in Dreams, you have countless choices of things you can instantly go and jump into other than what you're looking at right now. So, it might be harder to maintain someone's attention. It definitely is. It definitely is harder to maintain someone's attention and consume their time in a Dreams game than it is in a game outside Dreams. I'd say if they're identical games, you're going to have people probably leaving quicker in Dreams than you would if it was something they downloaded from Steam. Like outside of Dreams, there's also more of a commitment. Like Flash games were more Dreams-like in that way because you already had Flash installed in your browser. You just go to the website and you can just chew through games. And yeah, it's so much easier to walk away and pick up something else.
Yeah, and there's certainly a place for those like intros that are really cool. They're setting up the story, but like if it's over a minute, like even if I'm gonna watch it because I'm like a fan of you, someone else is gonna be like, it's 30 seconds in, nothing's happening.
Yeah,
you're gonna lose people. That's just how it is. One way to get around that, of course, is to make it like visually stunning, like incredible looking.
that's
The Bat's Tail intro. Oh yeah, of course. That's easier said than done. But the Bat's Tail intro is really good at that. It's like it's super amazing like art style but it's still really quick. I think it's under a minute.
I'm
And
pulling it
then
up right now.
the Bakuro-chan game that's in the collection, Ninetales, I think it's called, also has a really nice intro, but it's also short enough. You don't feel like you're wasting your time. But I do appreciate it when Dreams like get right into the action, like writing in media res is done for a reason. Like that's incredibly popular in the literature because you can like find out like the exciting stuff right away. So the same principle applies, I think.
I think I've sat down 3 times to play a Bat's Tale, and every time I sit down and play through some more, I'm impressed again by like it is really, really wonderfully designed in so many ways, and it doesn't feel like it's showing off. Like it's so there's so much subtlety about it that
Yeah, it's really grounded.
yeah, I just find more to appreciate every time I come back to it.
Yeah, that's sort of like, so maybe if you don't feel like you're playing games differently now that you are like trying to design games and dreams, I think you should. That's my opinion. When you're playing another game, like actually try to like critically analyze like how the systems are working together, and specifically tutorials. Those are a pain in the ass for me, and I'm sure everyone else. They're just so incredibly hard. That's where you lose everyone if you're going to lose someone on a tutorial that doesn't make sense.
Now, what you
Or
want to
isn't
do
intuitive.
for every tutorial is the trick is to put as much text on the screen at one time as you possibly can.
All text.
Right? You want to let the player absorb it all, absorb as much text as possible, really, really quickly, and that's good tutorializing.
I'm actually making a tutorial right now. Over the past few weeks, I've been working on a tutorial for my game that I'm making, and it is taking a very long time because kind of doing the tutorial as an intro, like with the story itself. Sort of, let me think. Sort of like Prey or Bioshock, those types of games where the first thing you do is it's a very simple action. Like there's an interaction with something in the room, and it's very simple. And then maybe a gun pops up and it tells you to pick it up, and then it tells you to aim and shoot, and then but as you're doing this thing, you're actually moving through the game itself, and it doesn't really feel like a tutorial, which is, if you look at a lot of like big games, that's generally like the best way to do that, rather than having like the game stop, pause, and put text up and be like, hey, what you're going to want to do is do this. It's like, no, if you're...
Then AAA games do that, and you're like, why are you doing this?
Oh, yeah, I know. It should... I feel like it should be thought of as, imagine you drop into this world yourself. How would you learn without text how to like go through the world? You would just naturally be curious if something that's presented right in front of you, and you'd go, and all you need to is like how to interact with that thing, or how to bridge that thing that you want to do naturally.
Yeah.
Right. And yeah,
Like,
the Bat's Tale tutorial, I think, does that excellently. Like, it leads you through the beginning stages and like gradually teaches you what you need, like what you would naturally do to progress.
oh yeah,
I think it's a really good one to study if you're having trouble with tutorials.
Absolutely.
I bet Peter Field did some of this tutorial. I know he did some of the level design on this.
it's such an important part of a game.
Oh yeah, it may be the most important part, because if they don't play the rest of the game, everything else you made after the tutorial doesn't matter.
Yeah, I found it really impressive coming back to play the second time. It feels like you jump right into the game. Like if you've already played, it does feel, I mean, maybe it's a touch slow, but it feels like you jump right into the game, and I don't feel like I'm doing a tutorial again, even though I've got to do the whole tutorial again. Like,
so yeah, another game that's probably the gold standard of tutorials is Half-Life 2. It kind of like set the standard of that type of teaching, of like going through the steps of what you need to do the whole rest of the game in the beginning, and making it a part of the story, a part of the level design. It's like very intuitive. You're not just like speaking to the player, I guess.
yeah.
Like show and tell instead of just tell.
I'm glad you mentioned that. That sorry, Kel.
No, go ahead.
I was just gonna say Half-Life 2 is brought up quite often when discussing level design, game design type of thing. There's so many things that in that game that are revolutionary, and it's kind of like the Bible of a section of game design.
Would you recommend? Would you recommend it to someone in 2021 here?
Anyone anyone
yeah.
at any time.
It's timeless.
I've played a lot of shooters. I've never played Half-Life 2. I'm sorry. Did you say?
That's how you know you're a game designer. Is you're blown away by a tutorial.
Did you say the Nine Tails story was one with a great? Did you say the
Yeah,
tutorial? on
it's
that
one that it's kind of like a demo. I don't think it has a tutorial ready yet, but the it's super intuitive, and you can see like the intro is, I think it's under a minute, but it's also like it's gorgeous. So you can get away with whatever you want if it's gorgeous.
Oh, they have a tutorial option at the start.
It didn't
Oh, it
work
doesn't
when
work.
I tried it. I don't
No, it
know
yeah,
if that was just me.
not just you.
But yeah, a lot of the like general principles of game design don't rely on like a specific language or culture. And I know Bakuro-chan is Japanese, so he's like using the same principles that we're going to talk about to make an amazing game that feels really good to play.
And not only that, but
go ahead.
X is now confirmed for Japan as
Oh,
well
yeah,
as the rest of
finally.
the world.
Welcome.
It's pretty funny though. Like, do you think there are some people who enjoy complaining about the fact that X means yes, confirm,
Cross.
like circle meaning confirm, and yeah, cross meaning like go back or reject. Does seem to make a lot more sense, doesn't it?
It's just the easiest button to press. They should have put the circle one down here.
There you go. Someone travel back in time and hire MC Alchemist to help with that initial PlayStation controller design, and we can avoid this whole conflict.
Sounds good.
Before I was born.
No,
but what I really like with this game is
no. Was it really
I think so.
PlayStation 1?
PlayStation 1. I was born in 95.
Oh wow, I'm old.
I'm getting up there. Gotta do stretching after.
I was getting my first
exercising.
job in 1995.
Oh, nice.
Garden and feed store. Hi, Mr. Casey Jones. Rating. He wants the podcast to be about
Rate.
him. We did.
This is someone. This is someone who really respects players' time. Mr. Casey Jones. He's the master.
Yeah, Casey, we were just
Getting
talking
people
about
to
game
wait
design
under-
and respecting people's time. Do you have any thoughts on the subject, Mr. Casey Jones?
Says I.
Yes. I
Oh, here we go.
I would like to say some. I'm choking on my coffee. Yes, Mr. Casey Jones, well known for respecting players' time. If you're not familiar with the Opposite Day series, you are likely to stumble across a sign that says invite you to stand on an X for 10 minutes or an hour or something, or to press a button 10,000 times, or something something of the sort. I mean, honestly, I think in a way he's doing comedy about valuing a player's time, isn't he?
Yeah, I think
Yeah,
that's
it
fair.
works.
I've when I first got Dreams, I think Opposite Day was one of the first games I played on Dreams, and it kind of got me into wanting to make a first-person type of game. And I made a few unreleased ones. I released one, but it's kind of become my favorite thing to do in Dreams, make first-person type stuff. Even though I don't really release them lately, but
What are your unreleased projects look like?
I have one that's like a haunted house, but there's no gameplay in it, which is the opposite of game design. And I have one that I'm working on now that is very large, very, very large.
Is that the FPS horror game you mentioned?
Yeah, I'm working on it with Steve Big Guns again.
Ooh.
And I was actually talking to MC about helping out a little bit. But there is a lot done, and there's a lot to do. Quite a lot. So
I'm excited.
yeah, I haven't been really showing it or telling people or anything, just because I want to get it to a point where it's far enough along that people can actually be interested in it and not just think it's going to be abandoned like many other things. But yeah, Opposite Day, that really got me interested in making first person things. It was the first person game I saw, actually.
It was definitely one for me that got me thinking about. It was my reaction, I think, was, oh, I can do something like that. Like, oh. I mean, I had only thought of like, you know, making sort of like normal things I had played before. And yeah, it was a nice moment in that way.
Yeah.
So what I really like about this game is something called game feel. Some other people call it juiciness, and specifically in terms of the combat, which is exceptionally done.
The touchy feelies.
Yeah, it's like how the game feels to play. It's a stupid way of saying it. But you can see there's an action or a reaction for every action. So like when you hit someone with the sword, they'll like flinch, like sparks will fly. He's got all these crazy paint effects, so it like feels really good to like hit an enemy and to like nail a combo. So it's like really subtle things like that, and even like when you're getting hit, you can like the character like recoils. It's just really well made. Like the attention to detail is outstanding.
Oh yeah,
it feels good. Can vouch for that.
Yeah, because it actually feels like your attacks are like moving the enemies, which is really hard to pull off in Dreams. So kudos.
There's a lot more to an action game, I think, than you tend to realize. I mean, I think when you're trying to put together action mechanics yourself at first, it's like, okay, I made it so this does damage to that. Why doesn't it feel like anything happened? You know,
Right?
you don't realize, oh, the doing
moving.
damage is a tiny part of like the experience. And then there's all these other flavors, you know, all these other knobs you got to turn to make it feel like you did
could
damage.
do a whole other podcast on just combat design. There's a whole lot to that.
Absolutely. Yled says Spider-Man was juicy. A lot of people liked that
Really,
one.
it was like the web swinging is insanely like feel good type thing.
I got to do that.
Did you finish it?
I haven't even started. I've owned it for like a year and a half now. I haven't even
shit.
plugged it in. I have a lot of those too. Just haven't even opened the game.
So
Yeah,
you
ever since I got a
want
PC, my
to
Steam
deliver
library is
packages instead of slinging webs.
Yeah, I want to deliver those pizzas, right?
Well, MC.
Yeah,
Sorry.
Oh, no, I was just going to say that the touchy-feely thing is such a huge part of design that really elevates the game. Like, just working on Frozen Frenzy with Steve and learning all the things that he did was, like, eye-opening. Just a mind-boggling amount of things added to bring it to a higher level. And they're very, very minute details that you would never think of adding.
You know, I'd forgotten that you worked on that with Steve. Steve is meticulous, huh?
Oh yeah.
Yeah, his attention to detail is
Oh yes.
out of this world.
If you've never spent any time with it, this adventure-based character is unbelievable. Like everything it does is super impressive, feels good, and looks good. It has just like a perfect, easy ledge grab. It does everything you could possibly hope for. The thermo's through the roof, so you really need to like customize it. You really need to sort of probably rip out the mechanics that you don't need. But we've seen this used to good effect a few times in a few really nice streams. And
Oh yeah.
how did you hook up with Steve Big Guns?
Well, I knew him from Little Big Planet 1, way back.
Oh, cool.
And then at some point, I think along the way, he got hired by one of their teams, but he between then and Dreams, I hadn't really played with him much. But then when I got Dreams, I reached out, and he really liked he liked the volcano survival game that I made, because I wanted a bomb survival, because I remember them being in the Little Big Planet. It was so much fun, so we made the volcano survival, and then he was interested in that, and I was like, oh, I have another idea for another game like that, just with icebergs melting and whatnot, and it kind of changed into this as we talked about it over time. But he has his personal project stuff that he does, and he likes to work on some stuff with me as part of that time, and then he has his stuff that he does. But yeah, I definitely feel fortunate to be able to work on some stuff with him, just because I've learned so much stuff from him. It's amazing.
Yeah, I appreciate the more low-key molecules that kind of just go about their business. They're not on like Twitter or anything.
Oh yeah, he's very low-key in that regard. But yeah, so many cool things, that little tiny things that really kind of bring up the level of something.
Right, yeah, like the ice motion.
In fact, that 3, 2, 1 in the very beginning, if you notice, it's not 3 seconds. It just goes 3, 2, 1, go. And that's one of those things where it's like save the player's time, because you don't really need to wait 3 seconds. You just need to know that it's starting.
Yeah, 3 seconds is a long time. You'd be surprised.
I mean, with that one tip, you just saved the future players of Dreams games millions of hours collectively. Yeah, that's a fun one. Does not need to be seconds. Ooh. I remember this game was here just to I had tons of fun with this game. I really like a lot about it. I think the difficult thing for me at first was learning the mechanics. I remember the one struggle I had, the one thing that didn't. I think I just feel like I had to be terrible for a while, and then someone had to tell me that your meter, your stamina, recharges anytime you're standing on the ice.
Yeah, there were some things. There were so many little mechanics things that we couldn't really get across in a short amount of time. We kind of wanted it to grow with the player as they play it, in a sense. But
yeah,
I think this is one of those things where the tutorial isn't perfect, because I have some tips that just display as you're playing, so no one's actually reading them, which tell you things like that, like, hey, use L1 to use a stamina, and hey, stand on the but you don't actually see it because
it's while you're playing.
Yeah, there's so much going on.
Yeah, exactly.
What else did you feel like you learned from the experience of making this design wise?
One of the big ones is that the puppet probably should be around 20 to 30%, because if it's lower, that means you're missing so many of the little details that you really kind of want to bring the feeling to a higher level of controlling your character and all the reactions and interactions with things in the world. What else? Oh, a huge one is timing. So making sure to eliminate any delays anywhere, and to optimize things as much as possible to ensure that your frame rate is as high as it can possibly be at all times.
Yeah.
Like, for instance, when this game starts, it deletes like half of the logic it deletes all of the logic of the main menu and everything. Everything's just deleted. Things are deleted as often as possible, whenever and wherever possible. Just, deletes and then spawns new things. And instead of using emitters for some things, it uses just teleporters to move things around instead of creating multiple copies. There's a lot of optimization that goes into it. So for this game, kind of fluctuates between, if everything was emitted, it'd probably be like 130% thermo. But yeah, it just kind of is dynamic, so it's going up and down.
Yeah, responsiveness is huge.
And speed too.
Speed of
the character itself. Like, if you look at It Takes Two, that just won Game of the Year, you play the platforming in It Takes Two, you really get an idea of like how important it is to be responsive and quick. The feeling of like when you're climbing something and it's really slow and annoying, and you're just tapping the X button to get up quicker. It's frustrating. You don't want to feel that way. You want things to be snappy and happen how you think of them happening.
Or the feeling of one of the worst dreams feelings is doing having to do platforming with the default puppet, but in default settings.
So slow.
The acceleration and deceleration of the character is glacial. It's super frustrating, but the platforming puppet, huge improvement in that regard.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah, definitely.
I also liked your point about easy to learn but fun to master. I think the more common one is easy to learn, difficult to master, which doesn't really make any sense. Like I know the Souls games are supposed to be difficult, but it's also like fun getting good at Souls games.
I mean,
So
for
that's why
you,
they're so popular.
There's some give and take there, I think.
I have very little experience. I played Bloodborne for an hour or an hour and a half and just wiped over and over on the first big encounter and just hated myself and and did not have fun.
Yeah, difficulty is another interesting topic because you as the designer, your game is going to be easy as all hell. It's impossible to like determine how hard it is for another player until you get someone to play test it, which is like super important because of course you're going to run right through your game, think it's easy. You're like, oh, maybe I should make it more difficult because like I'm running it in 30 seconds, but a new player is going to get really frustrated if you try to make it more difficult for yourself, which brings me back to the point of designing for players. Because of course, if you like the project because it's something you really want to make and you're passionate about, that's how it's going to get done. But at the end of the day, designing it for the player is more important. How you're gonna get more plays, and that's going to be more rewarding for you.
I think what you mentioned just a moment ago is a pitfall I've fallen into a lot, and I seen a lot of other people fall into, which is when you're designing your own game, you're play testing over and over again, and eventually you're the most experienced person in the world at playing this game. And I think what happens, at least in the first few things I built in Dreams, just like Dreamiverse Dash Remix is just simple platforming. You would start to feel like, oh, this is boring. My level is boring. Look how easy it is. I just zip right through it, and it's, and then so you start making things more complicated here and here and here and here. And then you watch someone else play it and you're like, what? They keep dying like in the first 10 seconds, and you're going, oh, wait a second, this is really easy. I don't understand. Oh, it's because exactly. I've spent a dozen hours practicing this. Which nobody else is going to do on my platformer remix in Dreams.
Yeah, and you can try to like wipe your mind and like put yourself in the perspective of a player like doing it their very first time, but it's just impossible.
Yeah,
to do that perfectly.
That even works with, aside from difficulty, but things like horror games where that initial experience matters so much, like being scared by something. Because if you're making it, you don't experience that ever. Even the first time you play, you don't experience it being scary or anything like that. So playtesters are very, very important to see if you can get people to fall out of their chair while they're playing it, things like that,
Yeah, I never thought about that for a scary game, like the idea that it's hard to scare yourself. That's interesting.
Yeah, you really can't. I mean, what you can do, though, is you can make it feel very, very uncomfortable, but the scares are separate from that. So the atmosphere you can make very uncomfortable and test it yourself, but the scares have to be tested by someone else.
That's interesting.
Yeah, and on playtesting, I think it's really easy as a designer to see someone playing your game not the wrong way is not the right way to say that. But what you really want to do is just let them just play, just not say anything. 'Cause that's how you really understand where the pitfalls are in your design.
Yeah, definitely.
But I mean, Keld's playtested for me a few times, and I always have to like nudge him sometimes. And that's when you do that, that's when you know it's not designed well. You need to change something.
Look at this. Keld hates this. Just watching him play, dying in like 30 seconds.
I'll be honest. I do enjoy it now. Like now that I enjoy the mechanics, I feel like it's tuned to be more difficult than I want to go up against. Just
That was
slightly.
Yeah. There was a pretty big focus, Steve and I, when we were kind of like toward the end. It was very, very easy for a long time, and I was like, "This has to be a little bit harder." And then it got really hard. I was like, "This is too hard." And then just kind of, because we were really, really good at it because we obviously were playing it a lot.
Yeah.
But we also thought like, hey, if we make it too easy, then someone that's really good can be playing it forever, and they don't die, which is terrible. So it's like, do you cater to the people that play it for a really long time and get really good, and then it's terrible for them, or would you care more about the first people? And we landed on like, we want to play a game like this, and there are other people that want to play the game like this.
Yeah.
And we want to always be able to play this and not be bored of it. So we kind of favored the people that want to have it as like a mainstay and just, always have a challenge with it.
Were you designing with the scoreboard in mind, like thinking that the scoreboard would be the main goal for a player who is sticking around?
So yeah, I think that's a pretty big thing. But another one was, we didn't want it to be. So yeah, there's a scoreboard aspect, but there's also just the high score feeling of that high difficulty at the high level when you're at like 10 minutes or something like that.
Yeah.
Instead of it just being nonsense with bombs everywhere and you can't even survive, it has to be survivable and like, not so insane that you have no chance at all, but not so easy that you survive forever, which was very, very hard to kind of tune in.
What elements did you tweak? Are there changes over time then? It slowly ramps up in difficulty in certain ways? Yeah. What elements get tweaked?
There's this massive microchip that controls a lot of different aspects of like shark aggression and the bomb drop frequency, and then the speed of which the bombs like attract toward you. And then there's other types of bombs. There's one that it's an impact bomb, it kills you instantly, it goes really quickly toward you. Then there's an aggressive UFO. But the main thing is tweaking the speed of things and the aggression of sharks like over time. But it also, it's not linear. It actually fluctuates. So at a high level, it'll go between 80% and 100%, and it'll just go back and forth between that on kind of like a sine wave type of deal.
Yeah.
So that even when you're at that highest level, it's not always like crazy the whole time. It's,
right.
Kind of goes, so it goes up on a linear sine wave, if that makes sense.
I think I'll never be great at it. But I do like
R1.
it. I mean, the mechanics are really fun, and
Yeah, it just feels really good to play. A super easy way to add game feel is like vibrations and screen shakes. You don't want to do that like too much. Do it like subtly, but even just like a half a second or just a frame of screen shake can add a lot to impactfulness.
Yeah, that rumble. Oof.
Yeah, man, I want a DualSense gadget so bad. Oh my goodness.
Oh,
please.
Could you imagine?
That'd be next level.
Please. I want an entire, I want an entire game just for exploring what this thing can do with that haptic feedback.
Right? Because you can put audio files through the controller. Is basically how it works. The waveforms of the audio are what's kind of powering the rumble.
That is really cool.
Next level.
I would love to hear like the ones from the Astrobot game that had some really detailed feedback, like you're walking on snow and there's like, and it feels like it kind of feels like crunching snow in the controller. And I would love to hear the audio of those and hear if it's similar to what you'd expect. I mean, could you get away with taking a crunching, a good snow sound and just dropping it in there? That seems like something that Dreams would handle well too, because it already can do, it can do impulse responses based on sounds, and to be able to take a Dreams sound and feed that into the haptic feedback of the controller. Yes, please, gimme.
Oh yeah. Imagine being able to use the little touchpad on the PS4 and PS5 controller.
Oh, that too.
Oh yeah, we can't use that at all. It's awful.
That would be very cool.
Yeah.
Yeah, I want to do swipe gestures.
Right?
Oh yeah, that's one thing that they never had. That I guess it would be really hard to put that in, but very, very cool.
So back to game design.
Right.
Where would you like to take this conversation?
So I guess like the whole point of the conversation is what type of game design works best in Dreams. Like, do you notice any patterns with like the more successful games? And like from a engagement, I guess, standpoint is a good way to put it. Like, so what do you think are the most engaging dreams, or what types?
Yeah.
And I guess, Kel, you can talk about Art Therapy is obviously one of the most successful games in Dreams, and do you have any thoughts as to like why it was so successful?
I mean, I would love to know. Like, I mean, the obvious answer is being included in the pick up and play section when Dreams launched. Like, I would love to know. I mean, I would love to see what sort of numbers it would have done compared to other things if it hadn't had that advantage, because that took it from. It probably would have been a game with a lot of likes. I think it's a very well liked game, but being like in that top row for every single person who's new to Dreams means it gets so much more attention than it would otherwise.
Right, but they put it up there for a reason. So.
Yeah, Kel, let me just say, I've made at the time. Okay, let me restart here. I was showing my girlfriend a few games that I had made in Dreams, and she thought they were kind of cool. And then she saw yours on a banner, and she was like, "I want to try that." She thought it was infinitely better than anything else she had seen because it's
your girl.
Well, it's just so much fun to just run around in. Everything's very clean. All the UI is very clean, and you just run around and breaking stuff, and it just works so well. Everything about it just works.
I mean, the thing I wanted was, I wanted it to feel good to break things. I wanted it to feel naughty. I wanted it to feel like you were doing something bad that you weren't allowed to do, and I wanted it to feel satisfying to break. Like those were the sort of design goals in my head going into it. I mean, obviously, a lot of the credit for the game has to go to the collaborators. Animation B did the entire intro cinematic, which is skippable, which is concise. It sets up a narrative for the experience to follow, and it's skippable, which is lovely. Pixel Gorilla did the UI, and that end screen is really, really short and really satisfying and nice to look at.
Oh yeah.
Og the Enigma did a lot of the logic for the tourist and for the security guards, which I think, even though it's not like a super challenging game, like it's not that hard to get through around and break a bunch of things and not get caught. I just wanted them to apply pressure, right? Like just to keep you moving, to give you a sense of urgency. And I think we succeeded in creating a scenario where going for a high score was fairly interesting and satisfying. There's so many different things that you can break, and the guards have a predictable path, so you can kind of learn how to cycle through the space around them and get the most valuable things broken.
Yeah, I'd say it's one of the best designed gameplay loops in Dreams, which is another this like general principle of game design, is you want to design a gameplay loop. I feel like a common I don't know, or insult, I guess, for games is that they're repetitive, which is exactly what they are. Like by their nature, you're doing the same thing over and over again in a loop. And how good that gameplay loop and how different the loop can turn out, like in the case of Arts Therapy, is how good the loop is. So every single game is that loop. And
yeah. You know what I should mention?
How you want to design.
I should mention that another really significant part of what makes this game work, or what makes it good in the end is we did a lot of, I'm going to say play testing. What we did was watch people play it on Twitch streams. Like the advantage of being there where most of the people, it felt like, who were jumping into Dreams were giving this game a spin. And also partly because of that gorgeous thumbnail by Animation B. That was, yeah. The thumbnail I think goes a long way too. But because so many people were playing it on stream, we were able to watch, I would say dozens. I would say dozens of playthroughs and see where people got hung up. Like there were certain things like this Sphinx. Originally, you would hit it and the nose would pop off, and that was it, right? And we thought that was I thought that was cute. It was funny, but it didn't feel that satisfying. And you would see things like, you know, people would constantly come back here and hit it on the back and not realize that anything happened, and then stand there for another few seconds, hitting it again, and nothing, you know, what? And then they'd walk away frustrated. But we were able to identify so many little things like that just from watching people play it over and over and over again. And yeah, I think that was a major help in
Twitch is a revelation
experience.
Because what really got me hooked on like game design is seeing someone like play your game on Twitch, and they're just like having a good time. They don't even know you're watching, and like it's an incredibly rewarding feeling.
It's very weird to be able to do that. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's a huge advantage, right? I mean, if you can, the fact that there are people who, you know, who are streaming Dreams, who are, you know, willing to play games and give feedback, or you can just lurk on them. Just lurk on them and learn what you can is I think really, really a huge advantage of working in Dreams. Yeah,
that reminds me of another point is like everyone's gonna give you feedback, but you can't like it's just impossible to actually put all the feedback back into the game. You kind of have to take every like piece of feedback with a grain of salt, and like you as the designer, you have like a vision. And the person who's playtesting might not like understand like what the final picture is going to look like. So you have to take every bit of advice you get with that grain of salt.
It's a bit of a double-edged sword too. Like it's cool to get all that feedback and it's great and everything, but it's also, you know, for example, I released that Twilight Shift game way back, and I was like, this is fun. And I didn't really care too much about it just because it was like something I was doing. I did it for a few weeks and made it. And I was like, all right, so people can play it. I didn't really expect much. And it kind of blew up a little bit, but I watched some people on Twitch play it and things would not work or things would happen. I was like, this game sucks. And then I was like all down about it, and still kind of am. And haven't released a first person thing since then. And I've just been working on first person things on the side, like secretly, not releasing any of them.
That's disappointing.
It's like, it needs to be better. It needs to be better.
That's disappointing to hear. Just that soured you a little on those kinds of experiences, because for me, the experience of playing that game, and if I recall, it worked correctly for me. Like, I don't think I had any technical problems. But I found it to be a really compelling experience. I mean, for me, that one game was similar to playing Opposite Day in Dreams, where I went, oh, this is like a whole other style of thing that I could do if I want. Like I thought it was very neat.
Oh, thank you. It was fun to make. And I think sometimes things that are fun to make, you almost kind of want to just not even release them because you don't have that risk of taking that fun away from it in your mind. But that's also kind of, you kind of have to do that at some points. It's the same thing of like, if you paint a picture, you can either hide it in your closet or you can go show it off or something. And because I showed it off, now I'm trying to make a, much, much, much better the same type of game, but much, much better game to kind of make up for the things that I didn't like seeing. So I guess it's a good thing and a good thing that came from a bad thing in a sense, right?
Yeah. To the point of what game design works well in Dreams specifically, how would you say, Do you have any thoughts on how the project you're developing now, or even the is it Frozen Frenzy? Was that the name? I don't
Oh
wanna
yeah,
say
that
it
was the
wrong.
one from the spring. I
Yeah.
think I released it in spring.
Do you have any thoughts to share on how you think those games might be different if you were developing them outside of Dreams? Do you?
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. First of all, Frozen Frenzy would absolutely be a multiplayer game. It would essentially be sort of like a Royale type of thing where a few people drop into the map and they all try to survive. And instead of
Yeah.
fighting each other, they just survive, and maybe they can nudge each other, some kind of deal. But yeah, that would be a dream to make Frozen Frenzy into a online survival game. It would be so much fun.
That sounds
Um,
like fun to play.
Yeah, I know. That's the hope was like. So there's two things. Obviously, this is all speculation, but if there were a PS5 version to have more thermo, we could add more to it. Right now, it's overly capped out. And two, if there were multiplayer, we can combine the two and create that experience. That would be amazing. So that's kind of the hopeful plan for it.
Yeah.
Don't know if that'll be possible at some point, but if it is, I'll definitely do it.
Yeah, I do wonder if they're running into issues on the base PS4 trying to implement multiplayer. It's got to be really demanding.
Yeah, I
Hmm.
don't. I have no
Do you
idea.
do you think there's a chance that it would only be on a PS5?
I do. I think it doesn't matter what I say though because I don't know, but I do think that.
No, we know you're in charge. I mean, you've worked with a molecule, like, so you obviously know everything that's happening, and we're taking
No,
everything you say as gospel.
What?
What is
I
that
know
not right?
nothing
Is that
about
not right?
I know absolutely nothing. I wish I knew stuff, but I know absolutely nothing. So to Steve's credit, I know nothing at all.
I mean, my gut would say, since it's on the Dreams roadmap as just a thing coming to Dreams, and they're not stipulating that it's a PS5 thing, I think if they were developing it just for PS5, it would really be smart to say so now. That's what I would
That
do.
would be
Because
oh,
to
yeah.
build the expectation that it will be there on PS4, which I think the
Maybe
roadmap
that's
is
just why
implying.
it's taking so long, I guess. Is because they really want it to work on the base PS4. I bet it'd be much easier to adjust on PS5.
Oh, it'd be beautiful. So beautiful.
Probably, yeah.
Plus, I mean, if it's PS4, I wouldn't be able to expand on Frozen Frenzy because you can't put 4 puppets in. Thermo wouldn't let it.
Oh wow, how heavy is that puppet, thermo wise?
Yeah, it's like 35%.
Wow.
Something maybe more. Yeah, no, it's juicy. It's beefy and juicy.
I never thought about that. Yeah, I mean, like, building a multiplayer game and needing the 4 puppets in there. If you've got a lot of movement mechanics, that's a huge amount of your resources you're chewing up there.
Yeah, you can't really make much of anything.
Yeah, interesting.
Yeah, but let me think. You asked me 2 questions here. You said one, you asked about Frozen Frenzy, and then I totally lost the question.
I mean,
the
it's
other
about
one you asked
what
was-
would be different outside Dreams if you were developing these games. I mean, if you had anything to say on the one you have currently in development, I'm definitely curious. I know you said you don't want to talk about it too much, but first person.
No, I'm cool talking about it. I just haven't talked about it.
Like a horror FPS in Dreams is something that definitely piques my interest.
Yeah, so I'm actually very excited to get this thing shown off a bit, just because it's at a point where it kind of looks like a real game, dare I say?
Ooh,
Real game.
you're pretty proud of the visual look of it. I mean, when you say looks like a real game, are you talking about the aesthetics?
Proud of the character itself, and like Steve's been in charge of the character itself and gun work and that kind of stuff. And boy, is it crazy. So very excited for that because it just feels so nice. And then the levels I'm working on, it's very possible in Dreams to do FPS. It takes a really long time, but it's very possible because you can just stitch scenes together and they can look really good.
Yeah.
It does take a ton of work to do realism stuff in Dreams, so you have to stylize things and give up some things. So if it was outside of Dreams, it'd be, I mean, come on, you could texture map, do all that kind of stuff, and it's just easier to do realistic things outside. But it's everything is fairly possible. You can't really do too many enemies and that type of thing because the memory limitations and whatnot. But yeah, I think FPS is one of those categories that works pretty well with Dreams.
Can I ask if you're doing if you're doing puppets for enemies or if you're creating enemies that don't have to exist on a puppet frame.
They haven't really quite started yet, but I believe it's a little bit of both. Because there's some early stuff in the works, but the enemies have been one of the last like mechanic things to create on the list.
Yeah, I know Intro Attack Out has done that as well. He has some of his enemies that are non-puppets for thermo reasons.
I
And
was
there's a bit of
I was watching Nautical Squatch's stream last night, and they're developing. He's working with Visium and Og the Enigma and Typhus and making a shooter, and they've got some really compelling enemies that are not puppets, that are like pretty low thermo, so they can send a swarm after you without choking the whole system.
Yeah, and I think
a sacrifice you have to make, right?
Yeah,
To have
it's huge. I mean, a puppet itself, I think, has a bunch of laser scopes that are operating that you don't see and you don't control, but it's taking up resources in that way. It's a lot. Like you run into a limit pretty fast when you try and load a scene up with puppets in Dreams.
Yeah, I think this game is a great example of using other games as inspiration, because we all know Doom is like an incredibly acclaimed series, so you can take the same principles that you've learned by playing Doom and then apply it to your own game. So it's a great way to just learn what good design is if you're trying to replicate something similar. So it's a great way to learn, certainly.
I mean, I was thinking back to, a year and a half, 2 years ago, when people brought up FPS in Dreams, a lot of the response you got was, "Oh, it's Dreams is not for that." Like, you're never gonna make a good FPS in Dreams. Like, don't bother. And that's why one reason I've enjoyed watching Intratac Out work and progress over time. And whenever he puts something out, I'm really excited to see it because I know he's fighting that fight, and everything he puts together is a little more slick, a little more entertaining than the last time I played a shooter in Dreams.
To your point about the lack of availability for FPS mechanics and whatnot, we are planning to release like the puppet that we have so that people can make things just like how Intro Attack Out has done, which I think is a really big step for these types of genres. Like once there are the mechanics out there available for people just take it, way further in Dreams, which is unique to Dreams.
Yeah.
It's a cool design aspect of Dreams. It's very unique.
Yeah, it's really easy fabulous to iterate on ideas in Dreams. There's another game design principle called follow the fun. So you may have an idea for a game, you like to have the whole story worked out and the mechanics worked out, and then you actually make them, but they're not fun. So you just have to keep changing it little by little until it becomes more fun. So it's a common saying in game design is you follow the fun, and Dreams is like the easiest way to do that. It's so like quick and fast to like change ideas and iterate, which is a huge strength of the platform. Because other game engines are just so much more rigid. Or in Dreams, you can change things much faster. So yeah, take advantage of it.
Yeah, and the fact that you can just take this puppet, like if you want to export your first-person shooter puppet, you can just publish it and let people go wild. See how other people interpret those mechanics.
We drop a puppet that's like 30%. People are like, you can't use this, but it's
but you
kind
can.
of like, yeah, you kind of want to use that, instead of the environment being so much, because you could just stitch environments together. But you can't put a more complex puppet into different parts necessarily. Like, well, you know what I'm saying. Like, you can stitch scenes together, but you can't stitch parts of a puppet together. You just want one big block for the puppet.
Yeah, I mean, and you almost always have like leftover gameplay thermo. There's only one game that I've made, the tactics game that was near 100% gameplay. But that's like a strategy game, so of course it's going to be heavy there.
Mhm.
Like, yeah, in a regular FPS, should have plenty of gameplay to spare.
Yeah, you had a lot going on there on the logic side for a tactics game.
Oh yeah, that was fun. Another one that I was like, oh, multiplayer is probably right around the corner. I'll make a game that's
Oh,
pure multiplayer.
yeah.
Here we are.
I keep thinking that, like, I keep having
Eventually.
those thoughts, and I keep resisting the urge to start investing time in a multiplayer idea I can't execute yet.
I've just forgotten about it altogether. Just put it
Yeah,
back in
that's
the
better.
back of my mind.
It's just better that way. Look, when it shows up, I think it's going to be very exciting. But
It'll be huge.
yeah, better just to focus on enjoying what we have. There's a lot here. But look, I know as an adult, since multiplayer gaming has become such a thing, it's definitely a
Huge.
highlight. It's definitely dominated a lot of my gaming time and provided me with a lot of amazing experiences.
Definitely. I mean, I think Little Big Planet wouldn't have been what it was without multiplayer.
How did
Being
that
able
play
to-
in Little
Yeah.
Big Planet? Like, how was the multiplayer integrated? I didn't play Little Big Planet at all.
Oh,
so
okay.
No,
So-
I know nothing.
Yeah, we were Xbots.
So you can
Back in the
join into any level and you can choose to play online. So you just join random people. You can invite people into your little squad sessions, or you have 4 people. There were co-op levels. There were 3-player, 2-player, 4-player levels. I mean, there were survival levels where you all survive at the same time, and there were even some people started making like hide and seek and stuff, and there was a lot of really cool stuff that they made.
Oh wow.
And it made it so that you could come back to Little Big Planet, play it every day with your friends, which makes it a totally different experience than just playing levels.
Yeah.
So you're not playing for like the love of level design and gameplay and stuff. You're just playing to
Just
mess
hang out
around
with
with
your friends. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly, which is totally different.
Absolutely.
That's the secret. So yeah, a great design point in Doom is they kind of found it boring that you had to heal like just a regular like with a potion or something like that. So what they did that was so much more engaging is you have to heal by killing other monsters, and those like special kill moves where you like snap their neck or whatever. That's how you heal, which like gets you like engaged in the combat. You're not just like waiting back and shooting from afar. So yeah, it's a great interpretation here by Intratech out. Kudos.
I like that. I didn't know that was a Doom mechanic. Oh, I got a shotgun. Look out. I'm just rolling through Dream Relentless by Intratech out. Intra is in the chat, says, I made this game before playing Doom Eternal. That game definitely taught me a ton about FPS design. A lot of good stuff coming in the future. I've got to play one of these Doom games. Like, I keep hearing Doom Eternal would be, that's a good one, right? Everyone's saying
It's good, yeah.
Everyone's saying to give that a go.
Prepare for maximum stress all the time.
What mode or what difficulty should one attack that at?
I can't remember the names, but I would say just play it on normal, whatever the equivalent for normal.
Yeah.
To start out with, and then if you really like it, go crazy because they have a lot of difficulty modes rather.
Nice.
Yeah, I like using those like interesting, clever mechanics as well. The entropy game in the collection is like one of the most ingenious mechanics I've ever seen in a game ever. So I think like using like gimmicks and stuff like that is really important because like we've all played FPSs, like it might get samey if there's not like something different that you're doing. And Dreams is really easy to sort of improve on like classic ideas like that.
I mean, I'd love to show off that entropy game, but I'm having so much fun shooting demons that I don't know. I don't know. Maybe I just let you talk and yeah, I just play this game for the rest of the stream.
We ought to get
this one feels good.
We ought to get a bit in about audio design and how it plays into the game itself and how much it can elevate a game. It's like I feel like it could be half of the game experience itself. It's just the audio design.
I would agree with that personally. I mean, just from my experience in games, I'm particularly reminded of some playtesting. I've playtested stuff for Pat Eka, a bunch of times, and he will do sound dead last. Like, he will get the visuals just hyper polished, just unbelievably polished, and there will be zero sound. And for me personally, it is the weirdest experience. Like, it makes playtesting really uncomfortable because I always feel like something's missing. And so I can't decide how much of my suffering is because there's no sound and how much might be from, mechanic A, B, or C.
Yeah, I think that makes a lot of sense. Sorry, MC, you go ahead.
Yeah, huge part of game feels, sound. It can add so much. And what I've done is take the sound effects and kind of like remix them to make them sound more unique. Super easy if you just like change distortion or something like that.
They're great sounds, but it does. I mean, once you.
Oh yeah, like you start to hear them all the time.
Yeah, you can start to almost tune them out just because you've heard the same ones over and over again.
That's an interesting point.
Yeah,
just kind of use them anyway.
One nice,
I'll try to change them just a tiny bit.
I mean, the pitch shift can go a long way to giving the song sound like a very different character without changing its function too much. That's kind of a fun one. I mean, changing the pitch and speed are kind of the easy ones to start with.
Yeah, but you'd be shocked how easily you can create like awesome sounds just from like stuff you have lying around your house, because that's literally how sound designers do it. They just like drop a book on the floor and record it. It's really not that complicated.
Let's see. Entropy's game Impressionable, is that the one you were talking about? Yeah, the mechanic in this is really
this is genius. I don't know how he came. I would freak out if I came up with something like this.
I like his intro screen, by the way.
Oh yeah, nice and short, clean.
Yeah, very cool.
Polished.
The intro screen teaches you the game mechanic.
That's smart. Kudos.
You're done. My tutorial is done on the intro screen before the game has started. That's efficient.
Yeah, it reminds me of Baba Is You, which is another ingenious game. If you haven't had the chance to play, would recommend.
Is that a Dreams?
Like you can, no, it's like an indie game on PC. But basically, you manipulate the game mechanics yourself by like moving around these like logic blocks.
Huh. An award-winning puzzle game where you can change the rules by which you play. Very interesting.
Yeah, it's genius. I think I won a few awards.
I get too many good game recommendations on this podcast. They're stacking up. It's a good problem, though. It's a good problem. Like, there are lots of good games.
Entropy has so many ideas. It's crazy.
Yeah, I don't know how he does it. One of my favorite things to use as a gimmick is the motion controls, or the imp. I'm sure if you played any of my games, they usually have some kind of imp thing in there these days.
I think Dreams has, that's definitely one thing about Dreams design that you just don't have in other places. Dreams has made me really sad that every other game developer doesn't take advantage of the gyro controls. I mean, it's
so good.
Every time, like, once I started using the imp and got really comfortable with it, now, I go to play Destiny or something, any game that makes me move a little cursor around the screen with a joystick, and I just rage.
Archaic.
Yeah. Like, what year is this that I need to move a little cursor around the screen with a joystick?
Especially when it's really slow. Like, if you use the joysticks to move a slow cursor, it drives me insane.
Yeah, and Destiny is like, there's so much inventory management that I have to do. I like inventory management, but I'm tired of doing it in Destiny. And boy, if you gave me an imp to just like whip my gear around with, I think that would be a huge upgrade.
It's becoming more popular in some third-person shooters. in first person as well, is aiming with the gyro.
Has
So
anyone
it's
what mainstream games have you played that have used the gyro in
The
in
Last of Us Part 2
Oh, it
has
uses gyro aim,
aiming.
really?
Yeah, it wasn't originally like in the first version, but they patched it in later. So
Oh.
yeah, you'll use the joysticks to kind of get the general area and then fine tune with the gyro. And I swear to God, it's better than mouse and keyboard for shooters.
I mean, I
interesting.
find pointing with the imp, pointing with the gyro controls to be probably the most intuitive form of control I've experienced in a video game. Like, it feels better and it feels more direct and more tactile than mouse and keyboard to me, and just more intuitive and
Right.
easier to work with. It's yeah,
The
I
Xbox
love it.
controllers don't even have a gyro, which
Ah!
is baffling to me.
Wow, I didn't know that.
Like how?
I mean, I guess that's why everyone's not using them. Like, Xbox, get on board, please, please get on board. Like, let's make this a standard thing across games. I don't know. Maybe Dreams can accomplish it. Oh, Entropy says that Baba Is You was the inspiration for Impressionable, but I've
There
never
you go.
played or even seen gameplay. Just knew conceptually what the game was about. Nice.
Wicked smart.
Oh man, we're having such a cozy chat here. It's boy, the time is just flying by today.
Oh, 3:00. Wow.
Yeah, wow.
I
Did
know.
not see that coming.
I know.
Yeah, I don't know. There's so much left in the collection. Cow Runner is the best game in Dreams, bar none.
We'll do it again
It's
sometime.
it's the perfect game. I don't.
Cow Runner, perfect
There's
game.
no better game in Dreams. And then shout out Burger Van.
Silence. That was my.
I know there's been some Burger Van drama, so I won't speak any more to that. But he is top 5 designer in Dreams. Like all his games are incredibly polished, and I hope he makes more.
Me too. Burger Van is a really impressive designer. Burger Van made The Cube, which beat out Art Therapy for the best gameplay impy in the first year, and yeah, that one really wowed me the first time I saw it. Cow Runner. This is like the best run of Cow Runner I've ever had.
Yeah, I don't know how I feel about Cow Runner being the best game ever.
Yeah, let's hear it.
It's like if you get good at it, there's so much more to it.
It is cool, but it's very much that kind of game it's a mini game, right? So
Yeah, it's like a flash game basically.
yeah,
It's
Yeah.
the most simple mechanic. Like how intricate can you make turning left? Is
And pressing one
what I
button.
find fascinating about it.
it's a bit rage-inducing, though, I will
Oh,
say,
totally, yeah.
which I'm not huge on anymore. I used to be. I used to be really into games that were like I played all the Souls games, but recently I've been playing Neo 2, and there are things that are just it's just annoying. I'm like, why am I playing this? I'm going to go play something that's peaceful instead. I'm not saying that's Cow Runner, but there are some crazy Dreams things that are not quite so high on the the rage scale.
True.
Payoff Wizard says just Pogo is the best game in Dreams.
That's a fair shout, yeah.
I like this one. Yeah.
Like
This one's really good one.
I would never say that a game is bad because I don't like it. So I don't think Pogo is a bad game, but it might be my least favorite game in Dreams.
I would totally say
like
it's bad if I don't like it.
I rage at playing it, and when I watch other people play it, I want to claw my eyes out. I don't know. I get so impatient and anxious. Like, it makes me feel all these things that I don't want to feel. And the sound, like that really sparse like piano or whatever it is, like somehow that makes it just 10 times more maddening. Like, I'm glad other people love just Pogo though.
This game is very, very, very nice. It's just so crisp.
Oh yeah.
You mentioned Burger Van, so I thought I'd pull
through,
up. Yeah, this is
the slicing through the blocks just feels
Infinity
so
Jump.
good.
Yeah.
Yeah, this is another one that has like a very simple sort of concept. If I remember this, wait, am I remembering this one correctly?
Yeah, you are.
Yeah,
Oh,
the
yeah.
cutscenes are done in 3D.
Oh yeah, and I love the little silhouettes of
Look at that.
the characters at the bottom.
Kind of like the Muppets, right? You know, in a way.
Yeah, Statler and Waldorf.
Exactly.
Oh dear.
Yeah, that's definitely an important point as well, is that this is all subjective. Like, sure, there are some like general things you can do to polish your games, but it's always going to be up to the player. I feel like this is the genre they're into, so no matter how
Well,
good you design, sometimes it's just not for that person.
well, if we say it's good, then that's gospel truth right there. So that's what he's trying to say.
Yeah, basically.
But
Yeah.
we're on the podcast, so yeah. So obviously we have the correct opinions that you all need to conform to.
We don't even have opinions. We just speak truth.
Yeah, there are no opinions here, only facts. It's absolutely true. Now that we've established our infallibility.
Yeah, we should have done it at the beginning.
What's that little cherry person?
Have you got? Oh yeah. So this game, are we in the second level now?
I think so.
It looks just like the first level, but it just changes a little bit every time, right?
This might be like the same level as the tutorial, but you have like finite lives or something. I don't know.
Well, what have you got there for us, MC? That I mean, we're getting, we're not quite wrapping up yet, but we're getting toward the end. Have you got anything in your notes that you?
Am I allowed to paste links here?
Sure, in chat.
Okay. Oh yeah, I shared the Google Doc of some of the homework I did and some of the resources that I've used to learn more about game design. There's some podcasts in there. One of the best videos.
I don't see this.
Is this
podcast on the list? Is this?
This episode should be on the list. I'll add it.
Yeah, you fix.
Once I got the link.
You better take care. All right, go ahead.
The best video on that doc is the Peter Field one. He did like a game design crash course, or more level design crash course in Dreams, and he just kind of goes through some of the basic principles of level design, like where to make cuts, how to lead the player places, like give them goals, all that good stuff.
That's a really good one. Like, it's a really, really good one. That level design tips with Peter Field. Like, I feel like I need to watch it again.
And yeah, it can go on and on. We're still in like the infancy of developing games. Like, it's only been 30-ish, 35 years, maybe something like that. But yeah, we're still treading new territory, and you see all these like big companies making the same game over and over and over again. How many Call of Duties are we gonna get? It's the same thing every time.
Hopefully infinite.
Hey now.
Oh yeah, Call of Duty is still fun, but
I mean,
we as hobbyist game designers can like push envelopes that AAA companies can't, because they have like monetary goals to meet.
I mean, to make a game in the scale of Call of Duty, it takes a big ship, and it's slow to steer, and you can't walk in 6 months before you're done and go, oh, I got this great new idea, it's going to change everything. No, the opportunity to change everything was a year and a half ago, buddy. Like, it's as opposed to Dreams,
the indie space is really important.
Yeah, and it's really exciting, to your point, that I mean, this is a new art form. But it's really exciting that even though there's this giant gap between, the first Atari games or the NES games and, a modern Call of Duty or whatever, just pick any, modern like AAA game. I find it really exciting that the tools I mean, the basic outline of what we were doing in the 1980s, people are still working with that and doing amazing things. I mean, you could still just look at Mario as a jumping off point and come up with something new and fresh that makes people feel things, that gives people a new experience.
Right. Yeah, I'd like to see more people like make new genres in Dreams, if that makes sense. Just like do crazy stuff. Follow the fun.
Now, on your list of games here, of dang fine design, like what here is there anything here that we think might not exist outside of Dreams? Like that. I mean, I think definitely in the sense of like Frozen Frenzy, for instance. You know, it's a self-contained experience. If this was a game by a publisher, there would probably be a lot more stuff tacked onto it. Or you know, it'd be multiplayer, it'd be whatever else.
Yeah, like a battle pass.
Yeah,
Where's
yeah.
the battle pass, Dan?
But I mean, even though this game is very meticulously designed, very polished, like I feel like it still exists in this middle space where it's not as big as a quote full game or a longer game experience, but yeah, I mean it's hard to imagine like it coming out in this state on Steam, right? And someone downloading it and playing it there. But in Dreams, it feels perfect. It feels like a meal, you know? It feels like it's not just, you could spend more than a few minutes with it and really like sink your teeth in and have an experience that opens up and changes over time.
Yeah, definitely.
Cheese Wheel, Fluffy and Sassy says, Cheese Wheel is a great example of something with quirky mechanics only in Dreams.
Oh, yeah, I love weird stuff like that. It's great.
I was playing a couple Cheese Wheels just the other night.
There's this liminal box thing that people were sharing around recently. I think the creator was kind of adding things over time, which is, I think, unique to Dreams in a sense where, you know, there's no sense of, there's no disconnect between the creator and the and the players. Like there's no QA really. I mean, you can just kind of release updates whenever and wherever and however often you want, so that you can kind of have a live game in a sense.
That is really exciting about the Dreams community. Like when people have been recommending Liminal Mystery Box to me by Johnny Biscotti in the chat. And what's really exciting to me is I played that game like when it was very first published. And we ran into a couple bugs, and I was talking with the creator in the chat, and you know they're fixing it and polishing it, and I thought it was done. And it turns out they've been continuing to evolve it this whole time, and now I'm really excited to go back and see, having played it in its infancy. I'm really excited to go back and see why people are going out of their way to recommend it to me now.
Yeah, it's definitely one of those games where you play it and you're like, oh, is this it? And then something else happens. You're like, oh, there's more. And then it's like, oh, there's even more. And then like it just feels like you don't know what to expect because it's far from a traditional game design. And that's something that only exists in Dreams, where you can have some really weird designs for games that just don't follow any normal patterns. And it's still entertaining and fun and interesting.
Yeah, I guarantee you, AAA companies are doing R&D in places like Dreams.
Yeah, I wonder. Have you heard any examples of companies doing like mocking up mechanics and things in systems other than the ones they're building the final product in? Well, I guess the question would be, is there anything other than Dreams that would even qualify as that? I'm phrasing it kind of open, but I don't know if there's anything else like Dreams that would make sense to do that in.
I mean, I feel like every company should use Dreams as a prototyping tool. Hire someone who knows how to make stuff in Dreams. You can throw up a prototype in like 2 days, not even.
Maybe there will be a future where all these studios have a Dreams department. Oh yeah, throw that to the Dreams experts. Get them to mock that up. Let's see what that looks like.
It would be really cool, though. I mean, I know you kind of joke a bit, but that it could kind of be a thing.
I mean, really, like I can't speak from personal experience, but I have heard so many people
Martin says
talk
it,
about the
right?
difference between how long it takes to just mock up a mechanic in Dreams versus doing it in a traditional engine. Like just going the distance between I have an idea to let's see if it works is, as I understand it, immensely shorter.
Right.
That
After
you,
trying Unreal Engine for a little bit, it's a beast. Like you said, it's so slow to actually get things on the screen, and you have to watch a million YouTube tutorials if you want to
Were
do
you
anything at all,
were you
and
thinking
it's
about
such a
going?
headache.
Were you thinking about going deep into that at the time? Like, were
I
you?
was just like playing around with it after I got my PC. So like yeah, very light stuff. I like figured out how to like rig MetaHuman and like import that into a scene, but like
What does that? What does that mean?
any
A metahuman?
it's like Unreal's character creator basically. You can like create a MetaHuman on the web and then import it into your project.
Well, that's pretty
Which is
cool.
cool to figure out how to do, but it took me like 3 days just to learn how to do that, and then it's like, how do you make it do anything else at all? It's
Yeah.
impossible to me.
Dan, have you explored game development outside of Dreams at all?
yes, and so yeah, Unity, Unreal, that kind of thing, general. But I sit at my computer and I do programming and do all such a thing all day, every day. So I hate sitting at my computer. In fact, I don't even really. I mean, I have a desktop, but it's like not even plugged in. So I know I probably should or could or whatnot, but I just like sitting on my couch after I work
Yeah.
and playing Dreams from there and just keeping it
Yeah,
strictly casual.
it's just not as fun. Like
Yeah.
that's the short and sweet of it. Dreams is more fun.
Well, look, I don't begrudge anyone who wants to go, who gets into Dreams and then wants to go learn, learn other engines. And I mean, I think that's amazing. I think
I'd be
that's a
touched.
really positive thing. But but hey, it makes me happy to hear people also say, "Oh, I'm going to keep sitting on my couch. I like this." We
Power
need you too.
controls, man.
I don't really care about getting paid for my games right now so much. I just kind of want to make games because it's fun to make games.
I mean, I think
And-
even if you
Amen.
had a long-term goal of getting, making a career out of it, I think that would still be a good approach. Try and follow the joy. Try and make, follow what you what you're interested in the moment and see where it takes you.
Yeah, that's life, right?
Indeed, it is.
Go with the flow.
Yeah, we're not talking game design here. We're talking life.
Gary's
Life
mod,
design.
maybe Gary's mod is a good one. Are you saying like for mocking up game mechanics? I know I've heard of Gary's mod, but I'm not really familiar.
Yeah, I think it's a sandbox type thing.
Yeah, to me it looks like I don't know, weirder Roblox or something. I don't know. Well, let's see.
Yeah,
Anything else in there? We do have Payoff Wizard in the chat,
just about.
and I noticed you've got Ascent Remastered by Payoff Wizard. This is a newer.
Oh yeah, I love the
Dream?
level design. In Ascent, and the title card is just gorgeous.
Oh,
Let me just
why don't we talk about
throw
this
out-
for a minute? Oh, go ahead.
I have one little thing that I want to just throw out to the Dreams world. We need some platformers, some 3D platformers. They are seriously lacking. Like some high-end 3D platforming experiences, like Mario Odyssey type of thing. Oof, I would kill to see something like that in Dreams.
It's funny that platformers are lacking. Like, it's the most accessible thing that you can make, right? Like, I mean, I can't think of another type of game that you could that you can make as easily as you can make a platformer in Dreams.
That's true, but it's one of the hardest things to make well, I think. So it's very easy to make and very hard to make, a good version of it.
There's definitely a lot more nuance in an amazing platformer than you realize until you sit down and try to set up a level for platforming.
Yeah, there's a reason that Mario is in every game for Nintendo. It's like designing a character that feels good to play. It's hard as shit.
Oh yeah.
I gotta say, to pay off Wizard, this was a gorgeous title card, and just the presentation overall in this
So
is
cool.
really cool.
Yeah, that's very, very cool.
And I don't know where this is going, but this open,
too.
like this open, super intuitive and exciting to interact with. Yeah, for the listener at home, you started out just a character in a cage hanging from a chain, and I don't know, without any instructions, I just started moving the left stick, and the character moves, and you realize you can start swinging the cage back and forth until you smash it into something, and then there I am.
I've never seen this.
Very
This looks very
intuitive.
cool.
Yeah, this just came out.
Yeah, this looks really, really, really good.
Yeah, Payoff Wizards games are exceptional. But this one especially, yeah, I really like the level design. It's like super clear. It like communicates well to the player where to go. Except when Keld.
Yeah, not there.
I wasn't supposed to fall off the edge.
But yeah, he does a really good job of using light to guide the player as well. And it just looks like gorgeous, so that always helps.
And I get to push this pottery off the
nice.
Yeah, off the edge. I don't think I have an attack yet.
Is
Otherwise,
there
I'd be
grain?
smashing this.
Looks like a little bit of pixelation or something. I don't know.
He's got a really nice depth of field going on.
Climb
man, that's
wood
cool.
supports. Oh, that camera's a little tough. Oh
Wait,
no!
I guess you can jump on those things.
This is where they want you.
What, did Keld break it?
That's where they want you. No, it's just when you jump up on the side, there's some wood supports, and then the camera gets a little rough. Oh, okay, yeah, I definitely want to play more of this one. You were just saying we need some slick platformers. This seems pretty nice.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it does.
Seems like a good contribution to the Dreamiverse. Payoff Wizard. Kataya says it's easy to make a crappy Minecraft style platformer in Dreams.
Let's do it.
Let's do it right now, just to make the point.
That's the next exciting asset gem. Crappy Minecraft.
Even just a game like Crash Bandicoot, something that's like or Rayman, like a good 2D. I mean, we have Slice, but how many good 2D platformers?
Just gonna open my mouth. I mean, that one's in this list too in our collection here. But yeah, Slice felt really good for me as a platformer, and pretty unique.
Actually, I kind of just remembered a point I wanted to bring up at one point about game design and how it kind of, people build on older games, but sometimes game design is lost and then refound. Like we have this whole genre of like Castle or Metroidvania type of things, building on Castlevania and Metroid and all that. But Hollow Knight was a huge hit success, and if you go play Symphony of the Night and you play Hollow Knight, you can kind of see like a 1-to-1 connection there, like the same type of design, same feel. Hollow Knight's obviously more crisp and whatnot because it's newer and all that, and it's some improvements, but it was almost as if Castlevania was like the golden or secret recipe, and then people kind of took parts of it and then forgot other parts, and then they didn't. There was other games that came out afterward that were kind of cool, but then Hollow Knight went back and really kind of used it as a sole inspiration, and it worked because it was like a secret recipe.
What do you feel like they were able to pull from that was kind of left in the dust?
So off the top of my head, it sounds weird, but there's a lot of bits in Castlevania and Hollow Knight where you're just platforming up, and like there's a left side and there's a right side. You just go left, right. You just climb all the way up a tower.
Yeah.
If you fall, you just fall all the way down. You climb back up, and it sounds really basic and it doesn't even sound good, but it's something that's just so entertaining to do. Quickly jumping up and everything. It's so simple, but it works so well. it's a weird kind of concept. This is like a simple example.
Yeah, but I mean, that's something like just little tweaks on the genre are things that are, when you're sitting there staring at your platforms going, I don't know, like I did a little jump and then I did a bigger jump and now what do I do? Like,
Just do some more.
those things they're not immediately obvious. Like, oh, well, let's use the vertical space. Let's do, let's mix it up a little bit. Slice felt like it was a Flash game you'd find online. Not that it's a bad thing. Slice is fantastic, says Jet Yeti. Flash games coming up a lot today. I am definitely thinking about Flash in a different way than I used to after talking about game design and dreams today. I never really saw the similarities, but now it kind of feels like they're in the same family to me.
Yeah, no, I agree.
And there's definitely a lot that you made a lot of good points about things that work in Flash design that are common in dreams as well.
Yeah, like the first 30 seconds of your game are arguably the most important. It's like that hook.
You see what Duck just said? The most engaging game in dreams is the marble. What is it called? Ball tower ball, something like that.
Yeah. Think tower
ball.
But
I mean, all you're really doing is just pressing X and going left, right?
Yeah.
But it's so much fun to just keep climbing and keep seeing the rest of the level, And there's a lot of that too in Castlevania, where it's like you kind of want to see the environment because there's some really cool art, as you're going through the castle. And then you also want to see what type of enemies show up, like these cool, unique looking, interesting enemies. There's a lot of little things, but yeah, the simplicity really goes a long way in a weird way. Just left, right, up, up, up.
all this talk about platformers kind of makes me want to make one now.
Oh yeah, 2D platformers.
Sweetest world platformer.
There is some space in dreams to fill 2D platforming world, which Paulo Lameros he's definitely filling up a bit of the void there because he's probably got the best one out of all, I think, with that new demo. But it's a pixel game. There's nothing bad about a pixel game, but that's its own niche kind of genre type of thing.
Yeah.
I mean, Ori and Will o' the Wisps, those types of games, the new age 2D platforming, that is something special, right? And you can do that in dreams pretty easily. It's just, well, hang on. Can't do it pretty easily, but you can do it in dreams if you have a hyper focus on detail and the subtle nuances that make a good game.
Dreams is a great place to develop a platformer. I mean, there are genres, we talk about FPS, we can get into like, here are things that are more difficult in dreams, building an FPS. Like platformer, it's game on. Just, you're ready to go. Like, you can just explore and, yeah. All right, we're making a platformer. YLED's making the art. It's happening. What I need right now is another project on my plate. That's what I need. That's going to solve everything.
Yeah, and those new templates are fantastic. They go so in depth.
They really do. Yeah.
I think we're going to get some good stuff out of them.
Absolutely.
Dreams is a bit rough to do projects in, like big projects, because they either get abandoned or just take so much energy to start a project. Like Kel just now sounding like, a project is daunting. I mean, those like drop ball games I made a couple of them. I made them because the first one I made, I was like, I hate making games now. It takes too long. So I just made this game. It took me like 3 days. And it was one that people actually liked. I was like, it was almost a joke to me. I was like, yeah, let's drop a ball down a hole. That's a game. And that was it. That's why I made it. I was like, this is just drop a ball down a hole. And then I just made a bunch of stages and then I released it. And people kind of liked it. So I made another one. It took me like a day again, which was nice. It felt fun to do.
Yeah.
And it was just drop a ball down a hole. That's it. And it's like the same thing with Castlevania.
Dreams. Yeah, Dreams are great for that. I need to learn how to do that. How to design something in a few days, release it, and be done. Because I think even art therapy still has chunks in it that are unfinished that I'm intending to go back and finish. We're not going to get into that today, but maybe the next episode is about time management, project management. how to start your first big project in dreams. I think that actually would be kind of
That's
a
a
fun
really good
episode.
topic. Yeah,
Okay,
that's a
I've
great
talked
topic.
myself into it.
Oh, yeah,
Maybe
there's
you
so
guys
many
can come
tiny
back and
little
join me for
things you need
that.
to know.
But
I think it would be a bit of an injustice to kind of leave out an important thing. I think Peter Fields actually mentioned it, like verticality in gameplay. Kel, you touched on it a little bit, but if we're talking about platforming, talking about 3D platforming, talking about a lot of games, verticality is such a huge thing that goes out. Like it's left out in a lot of Dreams games. I noticed that ability to kind of go up the stairs, look over a balcony, and see where you were, type of thing, and jump across and look at the top of the level that you're in and see a point that you can't get to yet, but you'll be there eventually. And just it's such a huge part of game design that makes it so like interesting and fun to kind of see what you just did. The progress you've made.
Absolutely. It's easy to leave out too.
Oh yeah,
Like, it's
definitely.
just easy
A
to
flat
ignore.
space.
Like, I really wanted for art therapy to have some verticality in it, but I think it was ultimately like I didn't want to. I didn't want to spend more graphics thermo on more like architectural pieces, and that and just trying to do it quickly. I think it was just a one night decision. Like, oh, I should do some stairs. I don't have time for stairs. Let's keep moving.
Forget stairs.
Also, but then then there's also like the AI for the enemies gets more complicated, and all that stuff. But that is a good point. Vertical space is a beautiful thing.
Oh yeah.
We have come to the end of our time here. I wonder if either of you've got any closing thoughts, anything you wanted to get out before we head out. MC, anything you'd like to share, or if you'd just like to send us anywhere, if you got any plugs, any games of yours you'd like us to play.
I guess, game design is a skill, just like any other skill. You gotta work at it and just be ready to fail. So, yeah, failure is important. You gotta. Another tip I think I put on the doc was do post-mortems of your games. So kind of analyze it like after like maybe 2 weeks or the initial like wave of likes is over, and kind of see maybe where you went wrong, see what the comments or feedback were, and then improve from there. You can either like edit that dream or put that knowledge to your next project. Something that helped me a lot was like tracking the stats of each of my scenes in one of my longer dreams, Solar Slumber, so you can like see exactly how many players are falling off at certain levels. So you can see, oh, maybe like this design decision that I made in this level is why it was like so hard and more people dropped off there. Like there was one like really stupid decision I made on the very first level that I know I lost so many people on. But hey, that happens. You learn from it and move on.
Beautiful. When's there any place you want people to follow you on Twitter, or like I don't know, plug anything?
Follow me, whatever you want to do.
MCalchemist42, also known as McAlchemist42, when the robot lady says your name.
Yeah, I'm working on a roguelike game right now. It's kind of sort of like a dungeon crawler type thing. You have to like find these cute little creatures in the dungeon, and they unlock different skill trees. And yeah, I like that. Trying to follow the fun there. I'm getting stuck on enemy design and combat design right now. It's kind of like a point and click thing. It's hard to balance. So yeah, I'm taking my sweet old time with that. Then I'm also trying to put all of my 2020 songs into an album. Make a dream of all the songs together and try to get them on Spotify. So
nice.
That sounds really cool.
Things in the pipeline.
Let me know. I love following Dreams music on Spotify. It's exciting. RurouniDan, got any closing thoughts for us?
Yeah, I do. I do have one. All you people out there making game projects and whatnot, if you have one big project going on, definitely encourage you to spawn a little side project, like a little tiny mini game, and emphasis on tiny. You'll learn a lot making that little mini game. It should only take a few days, maybe a week, and it's good for the community because you get more things to play, and it's good for you because you'll learn things you can put into your big project. But I would say a very good thing to do is always have a little mini side project here and there.
That's good advice. And I'd say if you haven't started that big project yet, make some little ones first. Do yourself a favor. Make a simple platformer. And I'd love to underline what MC said too, which is embrace your failure. Like, be ready to fail. Failure is good. And if you're trying to design a good game, you are going to fail over and over again because there are so many opportunities to fail. Like, there's so many decisions to make. Like, I mean, I've heard games described as a series of interesting choices. Well, there's even more choices to make to get to those interesting choices, to figure out which choices are interesting. And don't be afraid to fail. Put it out there. See what people think.
Absolutely. Yeah, that's a good point.
Well, thank you so much for joining me. MC Alchemist, RurouniDan, did you got any plugs? Any place you want to send people? Anything like that?
I don't know. Check out my stuff on Dreams if you haven't already. I don't really post many updates on Twitter, but I am on Twitter. I'm working on still working on an FPS thriller / horror type of game. It'll be done when it's done, I guess. I'll try to post some updates once it's far enough along that updates are interesting.
Nice.
But keep a lookout for that in 2022, I think.
Beautiful. That is now hotly anticipated for me. Looking forward to it. Well, MCalchemist42, RurouniDan, thank you so much for joining me today. Everyone in chat.
And a pleasure.
Oh, it's been just a fun, casual chat today. I really enjoyed it. MC Alchemist, thank you so much for all the prep work that you did and bringing some thoughtful questions and topics to discuss. And if you want to help out the show, click some thumbs up buttons or a subscribe button, or we're on Spotify, we're on YouTube, and like the past 4 episodes haven't been published yet. I've finally solved my technical issues at least to the extent I've finally found compromises that will get those episodes up this week. So we should be clearing out the backlog, and and I'll see you back in this seat again next Sunday at twitch.tv/CaldBjones. And until next time, keep dreaming.
Look at you go, you listen to an entire podcast with CaldBjones. Nice dreaming, my friend.